think this podcast like 76. We've been slacking ungodly awful this summer, and I apologize. It's not what I wanted to do or anticipated doing, but it's just life's busy. Kids are into 1,000 different things, and trying to
Hmm.
get anybody free for more than 5 seconds of a phone call is pretty tough. So Christian was good enough to jump on for 20, 30 minutes tonight, and we wasted half of our conversation before we pushed record. So I may get to hear the same story again, but that's okay. So,
All right.
oh, so how's your summer?
Hectic. It's newborn, work, got the other kids. Then now finally starting to get to the point where get some cameras out, start trying to get some eyes on some deer. Usually I've been doing a lot of scouting, whether it's just driving around or running cameras, but this year with life it's been pretty hectic. So just now getting into it. But it's starting off pretty solid for
Yeah.
being 3 days.
Yeah. No, yeah, you were sending some pictures and some good deer.
Yeah, and I was a little worried about it just because over the last couple of years there's been a lot of poaching in those areas. So we were pretty not excited because we didn't think any of the big ones were making it through. But it looks like a couple of the up and comers made pretty good jumps. I mean, nothing drastic, but that 6x6 that I sent you, he's a familiar face. He probably put on close to 25 inches from last year, which I mean, give or take. But so far, out of all the deer that we recognize, he's got the biggest jump. Everything else is, 10 inches maybe. But and it kind of makes you wonder, people say, really good rainfall years, the antler growth will be phenomenal. But then you hear some of them guys say, their best antler growths are on drought years. So it kind of
Right.
makes you wonder, like, what affects it more than other things.
Yeah, I guess I really don't know. I would guess it probably has something to do with food.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're getting the food from, because if it's super dry, there's only certain places that have food that you're eating certain things.
Right.
Where like this year, there's been so much rain all spring and into the summer, and we're due for another 5 or 6 days of rain
Yep.
coming up. Everything's palatable. Every little you know seed, everything out in CRP is all you can eat. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much undercover and browse in the timbers, they can eat all that. And um yeah, I would assume it's a nutrition thing more than anything, just what
Right.
they're eating. But I don't know either rhyme or reason, uh whether I've seen, at least this year, any big jumps. I know I have one deer on my farm. uh he's been like an 8 or a 9 for like 3 years, 120 to 130.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a picture of him maybe a week to 10 days ago, and he was just heavy mass, and he looks like he's going to fork both twos. And I'm like, oh, you okay, let's see what you got, especially since that big typical I've been after the last 3 years got killed last year by one of the neighbors.
Oh,
Um, I don't even have a deer on this farm. That was consistent that I'm like, yep, I want to shoot you. Now
right.
I'm going to hunt you. There's definitely some deer that looped through that either A, I will 100% shoot, or B, should be shooters this year. So,
Right. And I think that's what kind of makes it hard about my situation, being a public land hunter, is I've got that itch to go put cameras out on the publics that I focus on more than anywhere else, like during season. But this time of year, up till we'll say mid September, I won't have any bucks on camera. I might get an occasional 3-year-old to walk through, a handful of 1.5 year olds and tons of does, but they just don't have the mature deer there before season. They don't move in until season starts. So it's hard to, get a read on these deer to bring, because that buck that I wounded in southern Iowa 2 years ago, That was the first buck I've ever shot in October. I've never shot a deer or a mature deer or a nice buck in October. It's always been November.
Okay.
And with the public grind, it's when they're not there early season, it's hard to get those patterns and, try to be there when they come through. But
Right.
just kind of deal with it as it comes, I guess.
Yeah, I was driving around the other day after I left my farm and had a little bit of time and did a little gravel travel and a bean field right next to a piece of public. There was a frickin' giant out there, like, and I'm like, uh, you know, I might have to go throw up a camera or two. So,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know
Well,
how big he was, but he was 150 to 180. I didn't stop, I didn't slow down, but he was 200 yards off the road, and you could just see this giant frame. And he turned his head and then went down to eat. So I got the whole kind of turn and look and this and that. And he, like I said, 150 to 180. That's
that's
kind of that's a big, that's 30 inches, but I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, but it's a good thing to leave that much room in there, just because people underestimate how much velvet makes a deer look like.
right.
You
And
know,
I don't know if he was a giant 8 pointer, or for all I know, he had 30 points. Like I said, I was doing 60 and just
right?
happened to, could see him clear as day out in the field, and he was eating and he put his head up and I went, holy crap. And then he turned and I went, holy crap. That's just a big frame deer. So,
Right.
next time I head down there, I may, throw in a couple cell cameras in the truck and go for a little bit of a walk. I pulled it up on Hunt Stand and was able to go, okay, he was right here. I know I can get to the public right here, and I can put out a camera here, here, here,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Well,
should get
that
him.
that's just a thing to like show how much like apps really help. Like
Right.
my buck or my daughter's buck that she shot last year. Granted, I knew the area, like I knew kind of how deer worked around there, but same thing. I drove by and I seen three really nice bucks out in this field, and I was kind of familiar with the property, but I've never been able to be in there, so I didn't know the layout. So I just got on my app and I just started, really zooming in, looking at the topography of it, and I reached out to the farmer and I got permission to take the kids' youth season. I couldn't hunt it myself, but
Right.
youth season and having that image of the topography of it, it just kind of opened the door. And, my daughter freaking slam dunk nice buck out of there. It's
Yeah.
apps are so helpful if you use them right. Well, it's like these pictures I'm getting. I've had cameras out for 2 days. I was snapping pictures and I got a couple buddies, and then one buddy, he's had cameras out for a month, and he goes, I don't get it. How are you getting more and bigger deer on camera than I am? And I've had cameras out for a month, and just you've been out for 1 day. And that's where I was preaching to him. You can't just like if you want to get a big deer or a deer you're familiar with, you got to do the work. You got to do the homework, whether it's driving around the section every other night of the week and or running cameras or like these herds. I've got 6-7 years of history of watching these same herds in the same area. So I'm familiar with where they feed, when they feed, why they feed. It's once you do all those little things for so many years, like when they were gonna ban cell cameras, people are like, "Oh, dude, like you mad about that?" Not really, because it was in my mentality. I was like, it'll just bring me back to my roots. I didn't have cameras growing up hunting. You didn't know what was
Right.
out there. So it's
Yeah. Yep. No, and it's one of those things like if you have the ability to see them and watch them, that's better than cameras.
yeah.
But it's in private's completely different than public. Like
Oh yeah.
like you can go and dump out a bag of corn on private. Just like you're going to get a bunch of pictures. If there's deer within a couple hundred yards, they're going to find it within a day or two.
Oh, 100%.
And you can't do that on public um and stuff like that. So you're kind of more like trails or scrapes or
Yep.
pinches. More of the topography and the lay of the land and natural travel and
Right.
stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I same thing. I was looking at the topo map, like, okay, this looks good here, and then I drove by it again the other day, actually where the public was, and I went, oh, okay,
Hmm.
you know, is this just something does it get hit a lot during season? I don't know.
Right.
I don't hunt a lot of public, and I may not even hunt it. I may just throw out a couple cameras just to throw them out there
Yep.
and see what's there, just because it's fun getting pictures of different deer.
100%.
So if he's big enough, I'll go try to kill him.
Right.
It'll just really depend on how everything else goes. But I like having the options, and
Yeah.
same thing with the history. Like I have all the history with all the private land deer, and
Yeah.
most of the time, except for a couple. I got that one heavy deer that I've been sending pictures of, and I posted pictures of him, just a bunch of trash, and I'm like, I have no idea what deer this is.
Hmm. Well, it's like it doesn't hurt to keep your options open. Like even if you see something off the road and there's public right there, go throw a camera or two for 2 weeks if you have a spare camera, and see what happens. Because like, I mean, my situation. I hunt several publics. I
Right.
run cameras on, oh geez, at least 8 or 9 different publics during early season, even regular season, just to give yourself, you know, that option in case the wind is bad or the target deer on the one public you're after gets shot, or there's backups,
Yeah.
and I mean that one I don't know, say it on here. The one area kind of down by you, I had really good bucks on camera. I was like, oh, I'm gonna hunt this. Well, next thing you know, season came around. Well, I was getting different guys with 22 squirrel hunting every other day for 3 weeks, and the deer just disappeared. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I know I'm not mad about it because I have 7 other publics I can go to.
Yeah, if you put all your eggs in one basket in the public land game, or even private land, like this is like my second year owning my own farm.
Mm-hmm.
The big deer I was after got killed. Now I'm like, okay, back to square one. Do I go this and just not even, we'll just see what shows up kind of things? 'Cause I know during the rut things will show up, but I was looking through camera pictures for that buck I call Titan on one of the farms. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I have pictures of him for a minimum of 3, possibly 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go find every single picture I have of this deer, and I'm gonna save it to a folder, and I'm gonna get the date on it,
Yep.
and I'm gonna break it down into each year and find out where, not only where he is on the farm, but when he's there and when he's daylighting. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned two things from this. One, there's a pattern on farms, not so much the specific deer, but I just noticed on certain dates, different farms I have, the
Mm-hmm.
daylight buck activity picks up. So I'm like, I have three main farms that I can hunt. Um, that farm, my personal farm, and then I got another farm east of Des Moines that I can hunt. And that's going to be weird because that farm just shrunk. I lost permission on a big ag piece, different farmer. Um,
Damn.
they hunt. It is what it is. It's super nice guy. He was very cordial about everything. So I said, hey, in the next couple weeks, I'll get my stands off, and
Yeah.
I can still hunt the general area. And I've had pictures, all the deer that I've seen over there. I've had pictures on the farm I can hunt. But I noticed that there is a correlation in daylight activity. So theoretically, I can start about the 20th of October
Mm-hmm.
and go till the 20th of November and be in the ball game the entire time across three farms. There was,
Right.
you get to some farms where you're like, well, this farm has a bunch of activity, starting Halloween till like the 5th. And then for 5 or 6, 7, 8 days, it's just hit and miss. Well, the lockdown or whatever's going on, and then it pops back up. If I plan it right, I can have 4 or 5 weeks of daylight mature buck activity across three farms, and that's kind of the
Right.
plan. So I'm literally going through all my pictures, and I'm pulling, you know 2 or 3 hit list deer that I have
Yep.
history with, and going, okay, all of them are in this folder right here, and then I go down, get all the dates, break it
Mm.
down, and it is insane, the correlation
Oh
with,
yeah.
oh wow, that deer has daylighted these 3 days for the last 4 seasons in a row.
Yep.
Like it's in. I didn't realize. I knew there would be like sections. Like,
Right.
oh, the first through the fifth, is good, or this place is really good, the 12th through the 17th. But no, I mean almost to a T,
To a day and time.
to a day on the camera, on the same camera.
I've had a couple deer over the years that were just like that. I mean, when I lived in Western Iowa, there was a buck that we were after, and 3 years in a row he did the same thing. He didn't home on that public. He just kind of came in every once in a while, but it was November 13th through the 17th. He was daylighting in on that public, and then after those couple of days, he was gone. And it was the same days for 3 years in a row. And the internal clock on these animals, it's insane. It's like, because some of these publics, I have one public that I will only hunt it from October 1st to about the 17th, because I know it holds bucks. Once the 17th 18th comes around, you won't see those bucks in there anymore, and then after that it's just kind of pass through. And then I have another public where I won't hunt there until October 28th through October 16th, because that's my window in there. It is just loaded with all the bucks. But once that date hits, they're gone. So,
Right.
and it's the same thing every year. Like my one buddy that I hunt a lot with, he always asks me, like, that beginning part of October, he goes, "Hey, let's go to that one public. You've had really good deer there over the years." I'm like, "Yeah, I have, but look at the dates that they're there. They're not there in the beginning of the season. So there's no point in going in there, putting our scent around, all that. We'll just stay out of there. And once the time comes, we'll go over and hunt." And it's worked out beautifully for the last 5 years.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely I've always theoretically known it, but just have never got down to the data and looked at all the pictures, because I have hundreds of thousands of pictures saved over the last 20 years,
Right.
on my computer of different. Some of them are from the same farm. My
Yeah.
uncle's farm. I've been lucky enough to hunt for 15 plus years, I bet, and running cameras the entire time, if not longer. And like, I don't have as many pictures back then as I
Right.
did as I do now. But then I've also realized with cell cameras, I don't save as many pictures.
I found myself doing the same thing, because it's like, oh, I just jump on the app and look, and I forget to transfer them over. But then again, that's where I envy the private land over public land, because I mean, not in all cases, but you can get a lot more history with particular deer.
Right.
Like with me, I mean, there are some deer that just they happen to make it through multiple years in a row, but for the majority, I will at max get 3 years at max history with a particular deer. Because I mean, last year I had a lot of familiar faces, but I just happened to get pictures sent to me from people that know people of all of these bucks that were being shot off of the public that I hunt. And I'm like, there ain't no bucks left in here. Like,
Right.
so, all those albums and pictures I have, well, might as well delete them, because, the buck's dead. So it's hard to get that history off of public. I mean, it's possible, but it's tough. That's where that's the one thing I envy about private ground, is the history that you guys can make.
Yeah, I think that stuff is almost a better story than actually killing the deers, if you have a couple years of the history or seen the deer sheds or sightings. And
Right.
I enjoy that side of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like to shoot big deer, but
Right.
getting a couple years of the pictures and be like, okay, let's figure this out. Whether
Yeah.
they're 4, 5, 6, whatever. Whenever you really commit to starting to hunt the deer, it depends. Those deer make a big jump. Those are the years to kill them. It's you ask any of these, big time deer killers. You ask them, deer make one big jump, and that's it.
The year that I shot my 183, the other buck that was running out there that we called Shredder, when I first got him on camera that second year, he looked familiar. Like, and I just couldn't pin it, because I was like, I didn't have any deer that were relatively that size the year before. So I was going through, And I found a buck. It's like, okay, they're similar. So I started zooming in, looking at all the fine details, and come to find out it was him. But he had done like a 45-inch.
Right.
And I've never, in all my years hunting, I've never seen a deer. I've heard of deer making that big of a jump, but I've never personally seen it. I mean, he went from a high 30s, low 40s to upper 80s, low 90s in 1 year. It's like, oh my God. But
Yep.
the year before, when he was smaller, I encountered him 13 times in the tree stand. I didn't shoot him because he wasn't mature. I didn't want him, and I was after a much larger deer. And then that next year came around when he made that big jump. I never seen him one time, and I hunted my butt off for both of those, because I mean they're both giant. And
Right.
it was just crazy how in that 1 year difference, it went from I seen him all the time, he was on my cameras all the time, to absolutely nothing, and then on my cameras here and there. But
Yeah. You know, people intrusion, the activity, other
yeah.
people running cameras, seeing the deer, you're gonna have it. Like that's I had a really big deer last year on one of my farms, and I actually killed my bow deer off the same farm. You know, he's probably 5 years old, 155-inch deer, good solid deer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was tagged out besides my farm tag, and the big deer daylighted for like 2 weeks straight. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, would I have been able to kill him? Maybe, but I also would have been in there a lot.
Right.
Leaving my scent, getting in and out, bumping does, leaving who knows, a million different things could happen. So I was just kind of looking at it like, well, I guess we'll see. You
Mm-hmm.
know, well, he's still alive. I haven't even touched that farm yet. I've been so busy doing all the work on mine. It's just different when you own a piece of dirt. Like that's where I want to be. I want to do everything I possibly can, spend all my time, money, and effort on that thing. Even though I know there's bigger, better deer other places, I'm still like, yeah, I can do what I want here though.
That's that's
I
how I
want to make this better.
that's how I feel about our family farm back home. I hunted it for years when I was younger, and I haven't hunted back home in 5 or 6 years because EHD has hit every single year over there. And we used to have so many deer around, and now you're lucky to see 5 or 10 cruising down gravel roads. And it's, like, I built a food plot in there once, and it just didn't take. I think more trees need cleared up, but it's just one of those things where it's 3 hours one way. And
Right.
with having 4 children, full-time job, it's hard to find time to make that commute and, commit to that.
Yeah.
But
That's like a long weekend sort of thing. Like, hey, let's leave Friday at noon and go over there,
yep.
hunt the afternoon, and then stay the weekend. Make it a trip.
Yep. And it seems like, so the 1 year, first year I did food plots was 3 years ago. And of course we didn't get crap for rain.
Right.
And, I had all that stuff happened. And I was like, I'm done with food plots, whatever. And it seems like the 2 years that I didn't do food plots, we've gotten an abundance of freaking rain.
Yeah.
But,
Last year was horrible. There was no rain last year. And today's the 15th of July, and I actually planted my fall food plots today.
oh, no kidding.
Yeah. It's the earliest I've ever done it.
Yep. I was going to do some door knocking this year, drive around and try to pick up some private, but life just had other plans, so I didn't really get to it. And I've done the public grind for so long, I don't even know how I'd act or how I would hunt if I had a piece of private, because I'm so used to competing against other people.
Yeah. You're still competing against people on private.
Oh yeah,
They're right on the other side of the fence, or like I said, I've had a bunch of farms over the years where I'm not the only person that has permission.
right.
I've dealt with that a lot, and you just kind of have to pick your battles, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the battle's just not hunting there anymore.
Yep. Nope. I have a couple pieces like that, like the main public that I generally hunt. It's 900 acres, and when I really put my resources into that, I mean, it takes a lot of cameras with the terrain of it and all that, but last year, I think we ran into 12 or 13 different out of staters, and that didn't count all of the local people. And then I started seeing all of these bucks that were being shot off of there. And it's just like, I don't know if I want to commit my time and my resources onto that big of a piece this year, knowing what happened last year and that could possibly happen again this year. You know?
Yeah, there's always going to be out of staters drawing tags every single year.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you have to know, well, did this group kind of draw together and they knew somebody local in the area that pointed them in that direction? Or because I've on social media is a thing, and I've
yeah.
had people reach out to me, hey, I drew for this section, this region, do you know of anything? And I'll like pull it up, be like, I have no idea. I have no idea where any of that is. And I've had people pull up like Southern Iowa where I'm at. I'm like, I can shoot you a pin on a couple places. Like I can't guarantee you anything, but they're good public pieces that I've either seen big deer, or we used to shotgun hunt, and so I know there's big deer. I've shed hunted and seen big deer, or just
Mm-hmm.
a good area, But
Well, and
you may
it's crazy how much people think that there's not big deer on Publix. I mean,
oh, there's a ton.
oh yeah, there's so. I mean, I have encountered more big deer on public than I ever did on private ground growing up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did on private ground, but it's just. But also, I know more now than I did when I was younger. So who knows? I could have seen more big ones on private when I was younger if I knew what I knew now. But people underestimate what is on public. They just don't put that work in that's required to find them. I mean, because they didn't get that big on public for no reason.
Right. And I've said it multiple times. If I had to quit private and only hunt public, I'd quit deer hunting. I'd sell everything I have tomorrow, just because it's not the challenge of the hunt. It's not scouting. It's not that stuff. I would absolutely despise putting in more work than everybody else just to have some Bob blowhard
Prime
walk right
example.
right
Last,
in on me for
yep.
no
Prime
reason.
example. Last year, it was a deer I had 3 years of history from. That when he was 2.5, he was a basket rack with little baby drops on both sides. Then he came in at 3.5, probably 150-inch 10-point frame, but had 9-inch handlebars on both sides. Snapped off right by the brow tine. Showed up at 4.5 last year with one big drop tine. I had, oh geez, I think 54 sits for that deer. At first, when he was consistent, I just didn't have time to hunt. And then there was a group of guys from Pennsylvania that come in, and we had them on multiple cell cameras, multiple days in a row, walking around in street clothes. And then next thing you know, he was nocturnal. He was all over the place. And then I finally got that picture painted in my head from using my trail cameras, like where he's coming from. And I figured it out. I went and hung a set, but that next morning it was going to be like 19 degrees, but 40-mile-an-hour winds until like 11 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, I'm not going to hunt the morning. I'll just go in when the wind quits. I get there, start walking in, two older guys walking out, blood on the hands. Like, oh, you got one? Well, long story short, it was the drop time buck that I was been chasing. It was his second sit of the whole year. Had no idea of any of the deer that were in there. And I had, well over 60 hours of scouting and tree stand time after this particular deer. I didn't say any of that because I didn't want to make him feel bad. But
Right.
that's, what you're saying. I put all of this work in for 2 years of actually chasing this deer, and a guy decided to wake up one day and come out and hunt for the second time of the year and got him, which, kudos to that guy. Congratulations to
Right.
you. But, at the same time, you're just like, God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my whole thing. Like I would absolutely despise, like, not even somebody shooting the deer I'm after, but just walking in on me, and I've had times where I'm hunting private, but other people are, and I used to hunt a really nice farm down by Carlisle. Big deer, big deer there all the time. And I'm there like an hour and a half before light. I'm after this big deer, he's like 180s, pictures of
Mhm.
him. I've seen him. I know where he is. It just starts cracking light, and I see this little light coming over the hill. Some
Yep.
dude smoking a cigarette, walking right across this open pasture. going to a
Yep.
ladder stand that's 70 yards away from me. Like I knew the ladder stand was there, but I'm like, there's only one place to park. That's
Yeah.
where I
So he knew
park.
you were there.
He knew I was there and he walked in and I flashed my light at him and he, flashed my light as he's walking in and throws me a
Mhm.
wave and got up in his ladder stand and he's fucking coughing and stuff
Yep.
like that. And I'm like, I sat there for like a half an hour, saw two does and got down and left. And I didn't even walk over there to him. I just snuck out. He saw
Yeah.
me get down and I snuck out trying to be courteous and got in my car. And it was one of those things like he almost boxed me in. I had to like 10-point maneuver to like get up and around and had to go over some railroad ties and get up on the railroad tracks. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like just the lack of respect. And
Oh
you
yeah.
listen to, and you see people on social media, like all the different Facebook pages, like they'll talk about the public stuff. And there's guys that'll straight up say, yeah, if I find a stand, I'm sitting in it. I don't
Oh yeah.
care. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah. No, I'm out. I mean, one, it's not mine. Two, being someone that has taken a 30-foot fall out of a tree, I don't know jack about those stands out there. How
Right.
they've been there, what the straps are like. Like, no,
But the
it
people
just
just don't
morally,
care.
yeah, and just morally, I have no ambition to hunt anything anybody else has ever set up. I want to hunt something that I set up because it's how I want it, where I want it.
Yeah, I mean, even like putting a stand like close to somebody,
Mm.
like I would do that before I would sit
Oh
in
yeah.
somebody else's,
Well,
but for
it's
the
like
most
last
part,
year when I Snapchatted the group when Julian came and hunted with me. We were doing an
right.
all day sit, and 3 o'clock rolls around. Kind of when deer are starting to move a little bit more. The homie walks in and he pulls a big old school climber out of this bush. And we got his attention. He waved, we waved, and he's still clinkety clank in his climber up the tree 50 yards from us, facing us, not even facing away from us. Like me and Julian were like, do we move? Do we sit? We rode it out and we ended up seeing deer that guy didn't see, but it's just like, why? There's
Yeah,
300 other acres. Why did you have to come here?
yeah, and
But
that's the thing. Like, I turkey hunt a lot more public than I do deer.
mm,
Bird hunting something else where you can too, but when it comes to deer, it's just there's so much more that goes into it.
yep,
Like all the scouting, like you're scouting for turkeys a little bit and waterfowl and stuff like that, but it's not the same.
right.
It's a lot less time consuming and money involved than deer, and I just could not keep my composure if I would get up in there and just some dude walking in like, hey dude, we were here. Well, it's public, and I'm like, oh my god, you're that guy, you
Yep.
know and it just would drive me absolutely insane. So that's one of the reasons I bought a farm. I can lose all the permission and other farms can get sold. That
Mm,
piece of ground is mine,
yep.
you know. So
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, I think it'll be a pretty good year. Um, with the rain we're getting, the crops doing great, and I mean, hell, even I've got two out of I don't know. I got a bunch of non-cell and cellular sitting right here. I think probably got 35 cameras. But from what I've gotten and seen off of two cameras, it's a good start. I got a lot of other areas that I know have more and bigger deer, so I'm excited to try to find time to go out and put cameras out for those. But it's kicking off, and I'm excited. Got that itch, and yeah, I'm excited to see what the rest of the year brings.
yeah, I'm like slowly putting out cameras. Like I put out one new one today, put out a new one 4 or 5 days ago.
Yep.
Um, and it's just I'm going to spots, kind of tweaking things. I'm like, okay, let me grab a camera and get it all ready, and I'll just at this point I'm like going to keep 3 or 4 in my truck at all times. So if I'm down
Right.
there, I'm like, oh man, I should put a camera here. Oh, let's go grab it, activate it, and throw it up. And
Last year,
um,
first year doing that, I would throw 2 or 3 non-cell cameras in the bottom of my bag underneath all the cell cameras. So, because I have my particular spots, I want my cell cameras because I know that's where deer work. And it's kind of the same thing. Once I set those cameras, if I'm walking and because I'm catching them, I'm like, ooh, I have a non-cell camera. I'll slap it up there and let it soak, just to kind of see if my mind or thought process was correct.
Yeah. I got about a dozen non-cells that aren't like DS4Ks, that aren't really nice ones. They're old wild games and stuff like that that
Yeah.
take great pictures, but you're not going to cry if they walk away, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
I
and
think
I'm
I
gonna,
got like 5
I'm
or 6
gonna,
Pascos right here.
yeah, and I'm gonna put them all out, and I'll let them soak, and I'll pull them during shed season.
Yep.
Put good batteries in them, put a 32 gig card in them, and just go put them on a crossing, put them on a old
Yep.
scrape, put them on an old rub, anything like that, and just go, okay, I'll see you in 6 months.
Yep.
And you would be surprised the amount of deer that you see on
And
those
not
cameras.
and not just seeing deer, but the amount of good deer.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like, there's been a couple times I'll let cameras soak like that, and I'll genuinely forget the camera was there,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'll pull it. I'm like, oh, okay. And next thing you know, I'm going through these pictures, and I start kicking myself in the butt, like, dang, that 160 was there for 5 days.
yep. And it's fun because as much as I love cell cameras, I mean, I love waking up in the morning and going,
Yeah.
oh, what do we got? What do we got? Mine the whole time we've been doing this, I've been getting
I was
notifications.
just thinking, like, my notifications been going nuts. I'm like, wonder what that one was.
Right. So I love that, but there's nothing better than pulling that SD card and shoving it in like your phone or your computer and going, all right, what do we got? What do we got? What do we
Yeah,
got? And you
100%.
can just go through like a month and a half of a card and go, oh crap. Like I like doing it during Velvet, and then right before season shows up, kind of move them to scrapes where they're just gonna
Yeah.
sit the rest of the year. So I think I'm
Yep.
gonna get all mine ready to go, and I will just throw them in the back of my truck and just go, okay, they're all
Mhm.
sitting here, they're all ready to go.
Yep.
If I can just literally put them anywhere and just forget about them,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
They,
On it, if it wasn't for my hunting apps, you know how many cameras that I would have out be like they're goners. Like, I just forgot they're there. I mean, hell,
oh,
last
I don't put anything on an app. Like,
oh, I do. I have to mark where my camera was. Like, shed season, I was looking at my app and I was like, I have a camera over here. I walked over and sure enough, yeah, it was a camera from the previous year. I completely forgot about it. I was like, nice.
yeah, I left one out on a farm, the one I lost permission on, and the new farmer was like, yeah, I saw it like when we went to spray, but then I didn't see it, or they saw it when they went to plant, but didn't when they spray. I'm like, it was on a thing and it fell over and it's probably trashed. But I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll get out there and I'll look and see if I can find it. It was a nice stealth game. It was like, I think it was like Deceptor Max or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Remember that water hole out on the edge of the field?
Yes.
It was that camera. It
No
finally
kidding.
had fallen over, and I forgot about it when I shed hunted it. I pulled like 5 cameras and a stand and stuff like that, and got all the way back to the truck and went, "Oh crap, I forgot that camera." But I was exhausted. I'm like, I'm not walking back there. That's like 400 yards.
Right.
I'll get it next time. And here we are in the middle of July, and that was March.
Yep.
Still there.
I get it. But well, I don't want to cut short on you. Kids are getting out of church here soon, so I'm gonna have to.
Nope. I get that. Not a problem. I appreciate you jumping on, and we'll see a lot more from you with this. I'm getting ready to do the edit of the new overtime series, so
Oh, okay.
that should be dropping here pretty soon, and then all those episodes will start in August. So
Perfect.
it'll be fun.
I've already started doing some filming, so
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of stuff, but I need to. I don't even have a big camera right now. I sold mine to upgrade, and
oh
I
yes.
have no camera right now. So
Right. Well, I'm hoping one of these days, if the newborn is cooperating right, then I'm thinking, and if the weather or wind is right, I should be able to get some really good close-up video of that 6x6.
that's what I'm needing for some intros, some solid velvet footage.
Deal.
So
So,
all right, man. I appreciate it.
all right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Yep.